Prince Harry nearly broke down in tears in court today, weeping about Meghan Markle's misery. And he was told to stop arguing back by the judge. Well, Prince Harry was giving evidence in his privacy claim against the publisher of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday in the High Court today.
Devastating moment for Prince Harry's reputation and credibility, as he argues with a judge while in the dock, contradicts himself, appears to fib about using the pseudonym Mr. Mischief.
A British prince didn't just clash with a judge once or twice, he went head-to-head 3 times in a single day. His legal team seems to be backing off fast, while his wife, sitting 5,000 miles away, keeps casually posting on Instagram like everything's perfectly fine. This wasn't just awkward, it was total chaos. Here's the real story of how Prince Harry's court case spun out of control and turned into a full-on disaster in real time. And trust me, it goes way deeper than anyone expected.
Prince Harry broke down in big boy tears as he gave some testimony today in his lawsuit against the Daily Mail, claiming that they have made his wife's life an absolute misery.
Prince Harry, right before we got on here, we also found out he's on the stand today in London. He's in court. I feel like every time we come on here, Prince Harry's in court. He doesn't look great in the court sketch, I'm going to be honest.
Well, as we all know, Prince Harry is in the UK. He is testifying around this case that he has against the Associated News.
On January 22nd, 2026, Prince Harry strutted into London's High Court, thinking this was his big justice moment, his grand chance to finally face down the tabloids. It was supposed to be serious, sharp, and powerful, but within minutes, things went sideways, fast. He's suing Associated Newspapers Limited, the company behind the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday, accusing them of phone hacking and shady information gathering. These accusations stretch from 2001 to 2013, and the stakes are sky high, around $38 million on the line. Harry's not fighting alone either. He's fronting a group of 7 big-name celebs, including Elton John and Elizabeth Hurley. This was meant to be his big moment, the one to finally expose the British tabloids, to reclaim his name, to win public respect. But the second Harry hit the witness stand, everything fell apart. Picture this: Harry sitting in the witness box, the Daily Mail's lawyer, Anthony White, firing off questions. Within minutes, Harry's not just answering, he's arguing back. He's debating, pushing, and straight up challenging the man. The courtroom tension exploded. The judge had to step in, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And this wasn't just any judge. This was Justice Matthew Nicklin.
Arrogant and pig-headed Harry started arguing with the judge. This was just part of their exchange.
Everything going on with Harry today, I feel like it's a need to talk about his big boy man tears. He's so emotional, guys. His poor wife, she lives in misery in her $16 million mansion with her 4.4 million followers on Instagram, her Netflix deal, her show on Netflix, all these sorts of things, and she's so miserable.
Prince Harry, you're crying on the stand. In life, we don't always get what we want, right? We want friends, okay? We've all been in that situation. We want a friend, a loved one, a relative to take accountability, to apologize. It doesn't happen, okay? You're expecting a big newspaper conglomerate to come crawling to you to apologize. It's not gonna happen. You can either move on with your life.
A heavyweight in media law who's seen it all. Yet even he had to pause the trial because Harry just wouldn't stop arguing. The first interruption was almost polite. The judge tried to cool things down, saying, and this is a direct quote, "This is a big moment. You're doing exactly what lots of litigants do. You tend to argue back about what he's putting to you. You don't have to bear the burden of arguing the case today." That came straight from Harry's lawyer, Mr. Sherborne. The message was clear as day. Stick to the questions and let your legal team handle the fight. That's literally what lawyers are paid to do. But Harry just couldn't stop himself. The second time the judge had to step in, you could feel the tension spike. The patience in that courtroom was running on fumes. Harry kept pushing back instead of giving straight answers, and by the third time, things got heated fast. He even started arguing over what actually counts as a journalistic source. That's when the judge finally slammed the brakes. He basically told Harry, "Listen, I'm a media lawyer. This is my field. I know exactly what I'm talking about." Imagine that for a second. A prince arguing with a seasoned high court judge about media law inside the judge's own courtroom. That's not confidence, that's reckless. And here's the real kicker: this wasn't a jury trial. There was no crowd to sway, no press gallery to charm, no one to perform for. Just one person calling the shots, the very same judge Harry clashed with 3 times in one morning. That judge alone would decide Harry's fate, win or lose, no middle ground. And yet, Harry couldn't keep it together for even a single session. According to one legal analyst who was sitting right there in the room, Harry looked rattled, uneasy, and completely unsettled in the witness box. You could practically feel the nerves taking over.
I think Harry reveals more than he thinks he did, because he's of course trying to pull out the heartstrings about his wife, who honestly, I feel like the judge should have told him straight to his face, your wife's feelings have no bearing on this trial whatsoever, Harry. This is about Chelsea, Cressida, your former girlfriend, you know? But he has to bring up his wife. I'm sure that's what his lawyer was doing, but I honestly have absolutely zero sympathy for him and his wife in this instance. If they had been quiet and dignified, would I have some more sympathy?
And get this, the Daily Mail's legal team pulled a slick move before the trial even began. They chopped down their opening arguments from a full day and a half to just 90 minutes, catching everyone off guard. That change pushed Harry's testimony forward by an entire day, and it showed. The lack of prep hit him like a ton of bricks. Then came the emotional twist. During his testimony, Harry's voice started cracking, and it looked like he was holding back tears. He said right there in court, "They have made my wife's life an absolute misery. I think it is fundamentally wrong to have to put all of us through this again when all we were asking for is an apology and some accountability." At first, it sounded heartfelt and raw, but then one single detail flipped the whole moment upside down. This whole case centers on claims of phone hacking and illegal info gathering that allegedly happened between 2001 and 2013, and that timeline is crucial. Harry didn't even meet Meghan until 2016, which means she had absolutely nothing to do with the 14 articles he's suing over. She wasn't involved, wasn't mentioned, wasn't even part of his world back then. So why is Meghan suddenly front and center in his testimony? Why bring her into a legal fight that has zero connection to her? That's where things start getting strange, because while Harry stood all alone in that London courtroom, no friends, no family, no one from his circle nearby, Meghan was reportedly chilling back in Montecito, California. And according to reports, she was busy posting on Instagram that same week, showing off their pool, their garden, and their glamorous home life. The internet blew up instantly. One commenter wrote, "Why is he even mentioning her? She's nothing to do with the case or the years these claims cover." Another added, "Meghan's 5,000 miles away posting on social media while Harry's falling apart in court." The optics were brutal, people were talking, and not kindly. This couple built their entire brand around being united against the world. A ride or die duo, always side by side. But when Harry stepped into what he called the most important legal battle of his life, he walked in alone, and people noticed. Hard. And just when it looked like things couldn't get any more uncomfortable, it got unbelievable, because in the middle of that courtroom, Harry said he was furious about the media turning his private life into a public circus. He declared, "I've never believed that my life is open season to be commercialized by these people." That line stopped everyone in their tracks. Why? Because this is the same man who released a 400-page memoir, Spare, spilling deeply personal stories, family moments, private talks, even text messages between Meghan and Catherine about bridesmaids' dresses. He talked openly about losing his virginity, about his past drug use, about his military experiences, basically turning his life into a global headline machine.
Evidence came forward a day. So Harry originally wasn't meant to be giving evidence until tomorrow. Now, I think it scrambled him a bit. He seemed uneasy from the moment he arrived. He didn't really settle properly in the witness box, and he came in, and Anthony White very cleverly immediately got him onto this thing of being part of the institution lane, and right from the off, Harry was on the defensive and very bristly and very abrasive, and the judge intervened 3 times to try and calm him down. I mean, the first time, which was the one that you showed there, he was actually quite sympathetic, and he was quite like...
Then came the multi-million-dollar Netflix documentary with cameras following him and Meghan through their most private moments, showing every tear, every argument, every confession. And to top it off, they sat down for that explosive Oprah interview, watched by tens of millions across the world, laying bare the royal family's most personal secrets. So when Harry stood there accusing the press of commercializing his life, it hit differently. The irony was impossible to ignore. Now here he is, standing in court, insisting the media has no right to commercialize his life. But that contradiction hit the public hard and left people asking questions Harry clearly wasn't ready to face. One viral comment with over 1,200 likes nailed the sentiment. If Harry wanted privacy, he wouldn't have released Spare. Another person added bluntly, "You can't sell your story to the media and then complain about media intrusion. That's pure hypocrisy." And honestly, that take spread like wildfire. The judge saw it, the lawyers saw it, and everyone watching could feel the irony hanging thick in the air. Here's the simple but explosive truth. Harry wants it both ways. He wants to make millions telling his story, but doesn't want anyone else to touch it, question it, or reframe it. That contradiction hovered over the courtroom like a storm cloud, and things were about to get even more uncomfortable. Because then, Chelsea Davies' name came up. Remember her? Harry's ex-girlfriend, the one he dated for years before their split in 2010. Chelsea's moved on. She's married now, has kids, runs a thriving jewelry business, and stays far, far away from royal drama. She's kept her peace and her privacy. But suddenly, thanks to this case, her name got dragged right back into the headlines. Several of the articles Harry's suing over involved Chelsea, and in court, he talked about how the press made her life miserable back then. He even revealed that he called her the night before his testimony to talk about what really happened. Imagine that. After all these years, he's calling up his ex right before facing the judge. You can just picture how awkward that must have been for Chelsea, for her husband, for everyone.
Showing off their home, their pool, their lifestyle.
I think part of him is happy to be there because he misses the British culture and he hates being at the house with Meghan. I think Prince Harry would rather travel to London to sit in a courthouse than be stuck in the asylum with her in Montecito. Okay, I just think that's the truth. And then some other bad news in Harry and Meghan world, their show has been canceled. Season 3 of With Love, Meghan has been canceled by Netflix. They won't be doing any more, which I'm not shocked because nobody was watching it, okay? That show is like number 5,206 on the Netflix charts. So Harry and Meghan, I think they're done. Okay, Harry and Meghan, if I were you guys, your show's been canceled. You're not going to be the next Martha Stewart, Meghan. I mean, the fact that Meghan Markle had a cooking show and she moved pretzels from one bag into another was crazy.
One online comment hit the nail on the head. Chelsea should issue a cease and desist and stop Harry from using her name to prop up this ridiculous court case. And honestly, that reaction didn't come from nowhere. What made it even more intense was Harry's tone when talking about her. There was emotion, regret, that heavy, what could have been energy that everyone in the courtroom picked up on. It was impossible to miss. And while all that was happening, Meghan was still in California, posting away on Instagram. People caught the contrast instantly. Harry in court getting emotional about an ex, Meghan online showing off the good life. It didn't look good and it didn't help his image one bit. Then, as if things weren't messy enough, the Daily Mail's lawyers dropped another bombshell. They brought up something called the Mischief Facebook account. They claimed Harry had used this secret alias to contact journalists on social media, including Charlotte Griffiths from the Mail on Sunday. Harry flat out denied it, but the lawyers hinted they had receipts to back up their claim. And guess what? That wasn't even the end of the chaos. One of the journalists Harry accused, Katie Nicholl, fired back hard through her legal team. She said, "No, Harry, you invited me to party with you at Kensington Roof Gardens in 2011. Basically, she flipped the script, saying they weren't enemies at all. According to her side, they moved in the same social circles, were friendly, and totally on good terms back then. And that hit hard, because it cracked open Harry's entire narrative. It painted a totally different picture, not of an innocent prince being hunted by ruthless reporters, but of a man who knew how to play the media game when it benefited him, and now wants to rewrite history when it doesn't. And here's where things turned deadly serious. Reports started spreading that key members of Harry's legal team had either quit or were seriously thinking about walking away from the case altogether. That's not normal. And it's definitely not small. When lawyers step back in the middle of a high-profile trial, it's a blazing red flag for everyone to see. One legal analyst spelled it out perfectly. When lawyers walk away like that, it's usually because they believe their client's instructions are no longer sustainable, or the evidence has completely fallen apart. They're not walking out on the law, they're walking out on Harry's version of events. And suddenly, the Daily Mail's courtroom strategy started to make perfect sense. They came armed with emails, phone logs, and documents proving they had legitimate journalistic sources. That mountain of prep work started squeezing Harry's case from every angle, and fast.
this is my job. I understand that this is a big moment for you, but you're making a mistake that a lot of people make. Let me just tell you, your job now is just to answer these questions. Let your legal team answer the case. And Harry seemed to kind of go, okay, my lord, yeah, whatever. Then he carried on, then he did it again, and then he did it a third time, and it was really bad the third time. So
What was supposed to be a fight for justice was starting to look like a slow-motion collapse in real time. Once the cracks started to show, everything else began unraveling. People inside the courtroom started whispering that Harry's testimony just wasn't landing the way he thought it would. Instead of calm and credible, he came across as emotional, scattered, and trapped in his own thoughts. And that's a big problem when the court only cares about facts, not feelings. Multiple legal watchers noticed the same pattern. Harry kept leaning on assumptions instead of solid proof. Again and again, his answers included phrases like, "I believe," or "I'm certain the press did this." But belief isn't evidence, and in a media law trial, that difference can destroy your whole argument. The defense saw that weakness and jumped on it immediately. At several points, Harry openly admitted he couldn't actually prove who leaked certain stories, or how they were sourced. He suggested it must have come from illegal activity, but when pressed for details, everything turned vague fast. The Daily Mail's lawyers didn't even need to shout or argue. They just sat back, pointed out the holes, and let the silence do the damage. Because in court, silence can hit harder than shouting. And Harry was learning that the hard way. Observers couldn't help but notice how often Harry drifted back to his overall distrust of the media, instead of focusing on the actual articles being questioned. That emotional loop might work in an interview or documentary.
When you look at him bringing up Meghan in this moment about what happened in the past, for me, it looks like he is trying to do what happened in the past because of what happened to Meghan in the present. But if it is about what happened to Meghan in the present, then why not bring a lawsuit about what happened to Meghan in the present? You know why he won't do that? Because, first of all, there's not other people that he can come in with this same lawsuit to strengthen his case like he has with the other people that are in on this court case, all these other people. It's just him and his life with this woman. But also, Meghan's life that she lived in the UK.
But in a courtroom, it's a huge weakness. This trial isn't about feelings, grudges, or royal reputation. It's about proof, timelines, and sources, and Harry struggled big time to stay on track. Then came the moment that changed the whole temperature of the room. The defense pointed out that many of the so-called hacked stories Harry complained about could easily be traced to public appearances, official statements, or known social connections. That revelation hit like a shockwave, because if the info was already public, it didn't need to be stolen. Legal analysts said you could literally see the judge lean forward, not with sympathy, but with sharp curiosity. This was no longer about emotion. It was about whether Harry's claims could survive real scrutiny, and that's when the imbalance became impossible to ignore. The defense came across calm, organized, and backed by piles of documents. Harry's side, all narrative, memory, and emotion. And people watching closely started noticing another uncomfortable detail. Harry kept describing himself as powerless. But the court couldn't ignore the reality that he's one of the most recognized and privileged people on the planet. That contradiction between power and victimhood just didn't sit right. The idea that he had no control over his public image didn't quite add up. Online reactions exploded once those courtroom details started leaking out. Commentators began saying out loud what many were thinking. This case wasn't built on solid ground. It was running on emotion, frustration, and maybe even revenge.
Is all caught up on an emotional high, emotional roller coaster of, having to work with the press, having to then be, part of the press's news gathering, story making arm. And there's no real balance between the two. But at the same time, that's just the life you get. It's a quid pro quo. You get this luxurious life. You're born into privilege, things you never had to work for. But the compromise to all of that is that now you have to put up with things in the press that probably do make your life miserable.
Some questioned whether Harry ever expected to win at all, or if this was about sending a message, no matter the cost. By the end of the day, the entire vibe around the trial had shifted hard. What started as a bold showdown with the tabloids now looked like a high-stakes gamble spiraling out of control. The confidence Harry strutted in with that morning didn't match the uncertainty written all over his face when he walked out. And the worst part? None of this was hidden. Every stumble, every vague answer, every moment the judge had to correct him. It was all being reported, dissected, and posted online in real time. Ironically, in a case built around media power, Harry was losing control of his own story right in front of the cameras again. Then the defense delivered the final punch. They laid it all out, showing that many of the 14 articles Harry complained about came from people who voluntarily spoke to the press, and that one detail changed everything. These weren't shady hackers lurking in the dark. They were reportedly people from Harry's own social circle, friends and acquaintances who shared info willingly. That twist turned the whole victim of illegal hacking narrative upside down, and the courtroom could feel the shift instantly. That single detail alone undercuts the entire hacking narrative. And it doesn't stop there. Two big-name journalists, Rebecca English and Katie Nichol, are both set to testify. And these aren't random gossip bloggers or online rumor pages. These are respected, seasoned professionals with years of credibility behind them, and they're stepping up to defend their names publicly. They're not backing down, and that instantly raised the stakes to a whole new level. But let's talk about the financial storm closing in on Harry, because it's massive. If he loses this case, he doesn't just walk out embarrassed. He walks out owing the Daily Mail's legal costs, and we're not talking about pocket change here. This could mean tens of millions of pounds. A hit like that would crush almost anyone, no matter how royal their past may be. And it gets worse.
This is mostly over his time with Chelsea Davy. Not Meghan Markle, Chelsea Davy, the woman who I think honestly probably truly loved Harry for Harry. And I don't think she was all that interested in royalty, the royal trappings, in the money or the fame, anything like that. She is not interested in that. She's proven that over her years since. Meghan Markle, meanwhile, was absolutely attracted not to him, but to what he could give her. So let's keep going.
Reports claim Harry still owes serious money from earlier legal fights. Some insiders even say he's already around $38 million in debt. This lawsuit was supposed to be his redemption story, his big win, his prove them wrong moment, maybe even a financial lifeline to steady his brand. Instead, it's turning into a public unraveling that's threatening to wreck him both legally and financially. Now zoom out for a second. Look at the full picture. Harry's trapped between two worlds, and neither one is holding him up anymore. There's the royal world, the one he was born into, the machine that protected him, cleaned up his mistakes, and gave him endless privileges. But he walked away from all that and then torched those bridges in public. He wrote a tell-all book tearing into the royal family, exposing private moments, and taking direct shots at the institution itself. Now, there's no going back. And the new world he tried to build in California isn't exactly holding together either. The Netflix deal has fizzled out, the Spotify partnership collapsed, and the big media projects meant to rebrand him and Meghan as power players didn't land the way they hoped. Even their charity work, something that was supposed to rebuild their image, has struggled to gain real traction. Their overall brand has taken hit after hit, so here he stands. In court, in debt with the press circling again, stuck between two lives that don't seem to want him anymore. And this case, the one that was meant to fix everything, might just end up breaking more than it ever could save. After hit, this lawsuit was supposed to fix everything, but instead, Harry ended up arguing with the judge 3 separate times in a single day. His legal team seems to be quietly backing away. The evidence isn't lining up with his story, and his credibility took a real hit once contradictions from his own book came back into the spotlight. And the person he keeps saying this whole fight is for? She's not even in the courtroom. The public didn't stay silent for a second. Comment sections exploded. One person wrote, "He's his own worst enemy and delusional." Another said, "Court is for facts, not feelings." And a comment that got shared nonstop summed it up brutally. Maybe if he doesn't like the press, he and his wife should stop calling them. Here's the cold truth. Harry wanted to be seen as a warrior for justice, standing tall against corrupt media giants. But that's not how it's playing out. More and more people now see him as entitled, constantly deflecting blame, and unable to handle criticism, while trying to control who gets to tell his story. He wants to cash in on his life, but at the same time stop others from writing about it. And that contradiction isn't landing well at all. The judge seems to see it clearly. The lawyers definitely see it. And the public? Oh, they see it too. Loud and clear. The only person who doesn't seem to see it is Harry himself. And honestly, that might be the most uncomfortable part of this entire saga. So what do you think? Is Harry right to take on the tabloids? Or is this shaping up to be one of the most public examples of modern hypocrisy we've seen in years? If this breakdown made you rethink the whole situation, don't just scroll away. Hit subscribe and stay locked in for more wild deep dives like this. And don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see just how deep this royal mess really goes.